Hello and welcome to Dell's Gaming. I'm Dell and this is From the Depths and it's the campaign map. And yes, the good news is we are back on the campaign. Latest build, we are now up to version 1.7.2, which is the latest dev build. I don't think it's actually live, but I'm on the dev path, so we've loaded up. It allowed me to load in the Atlantis. But there is a few other changes which I'm going to go through on this video for a change. So I say for a change, before we get back into the campaign. This is close to where I had the previous game, when I had some problems. And it started to fail to load. And I'm just going to use this as an example map to show you some of the changes that are going to be coming along into the main build. It might change a little bit before then, but it's something that will need to be taken into account by everybody for your campaign at the start as well as later on. And this comes down to the way that the battles work and how blockading is working. It might change minorly, but I think it's a good addition to the game. And we're going to look at how it works. So currently, at the moment, if you get a force of some description and just put it in the way of another force, which we're going to do here. We've got a Onyx Watch force here, which is making its way down the south by the looks of it, trying to get over, God knows where, it's trying to get into the square here. So we're going to basically intercept it with our turtle fleet here. Now, one interesting bit, if I just stop this now, you'll notice there's a battle setup flag here. And that means I'm actually in range to be able to start setting up my battles with these particular items and start setting a battle up. Quite a long range. You don't necessarily have to wait until the circles are touching each other to start a battle between these two antagonists. So you can start your battles at a much longer range if you've got long range flying vehicles as an example, or something where you want to have a bit of setup time, which would be applicable, say, to my aquanautic fleet, where I want to give them some time to get underwater before the main battle starts, or you want to fight at over 2,000 meters. It's a big advantage for people with a big gun, long range weapons, I would say, in that regard, and it could be used to advantage. But that's not the one I want to look at the moment. Let's see if we can get this force. The other side is that currently, unless we could use a better force for this. Currently, if you've got a force was heading down towards say this resource zone, and you didn't want it to get there, all you would have to do is build a little 1 block, 10 block, even 1 block, to be honest, a force, and just move it in the way, and it would be forever blockaded until you go there to resolve the battle. And that's the current system that is in the game, I believe. The way it works, it basically just holds them up, basically, and nothing happens. So let's get a little closer. So we're going to let this... Actually, we're going to get a little closer. Let's just get to here. So, well, because these are slow, the Onyx Watcher, unfortunately, are a bit slow. So we'll just let this force get up to us and blockade us. And we'll just show you what happens now. Now, that's on that fleet, which is fine. If I select no fleet, there we go. Okay, nearly there, nearly there. You can see I could set up a battle with different forces now, and I could even start setting up the battle with this force. But I want to show you the blockading first. So we're almost in blockade range, and I'll set it back to 1 as soon as he is in range. And nearly. He's a slow old force. There we go. Right, now you'll see it is blockaded. So this force is now blockading my force. If I now go back to the main map, you'll notice if I can get there, there we go. Where's that message? You see, Onyx Watch Fleet, 5th Army, +4. You can see it's flicking up. Blockaded is planning to attack Turtle Fleet. Blockaded in 80 seconds. Basically, it starts at 100 seconds, or about 120 seconds, I think. And that flashes up every 5 seconds. And that is how long I've got to get some other fleet in there if I wanted to say, oh, crikey, I need more forces. So I would have that time, which isn't a lot of time, to get it, to get a force in there. Otherwise, that is going to be... I'm going to make it so they don't get there in time. Otherwise, the battle will be started whether I want it to be started or not. So we're going to let that happen here. So I'm getting the avian claws up. But let's say they didn't get there in time. So we've got 35 seconds. So hopefully, one thing I haven't tried it is if I do ×10. Yes, it did. The ×10s did increase the time. Now, if I just let these 0 seconds and hopefully, there we go. Prepare for battle. I have no option now except to go. If I go to my map, all the other forces have disappeared, except for those which are in a range for the battle. Now I can actually add, because it is in range, I can add this fleet to this battle, which I will do in this particular case just to show you what the battle is. So this is a whole new way of doing battle as well. So what we're doing is taking all other ships out of the game, except for, it looks like structures which I can't move are still in the game, but everything else has been taken out. So there's no reinforcements. You can't just keep it going and get other people to come in, but that works both ways, that no one else could be brought in as well. Now okay, I'm just gonna we won't worry about this fleet here actually on this first battle. New parts to this fleet. So if I select my main fleet, and actually I didn't want to do it. It's given us this main fleet here. This is our main fleet, which is going to be fighting, and we can see we're now in the map icon, and you can see that various ones are highlighted, and you've got these various numbers. The number is the order that they will be coming into battle. One annoying bit, this one starts at 0, but up on here it's actually 1. So, okay, that's a little bit of a difference. 1 is actually 2, etc. Okay, so now we've got something which is much more similar to an RTS. Now, a couple of other changes on this screen, before I go any further, is at this stage I could change the number of blocks which are allowed in the battle up to and including saying everything spawns. Now it could be useful to you if you have a powerful enough machine and to say I want a really big battle. I'm going to keep it down to 20 in this instance, because I want to show some of the mechanics of the game in this particular instance. Now a couple of bits that you would want to do for tactically is you have to now define what order your ships will spawn before the battle starts. You can change it in battle, but generally you have to change it and set it before the battle starts. Now number one is that you obviously want to define, number one is the first battle that spawns. Now first of all, you can move around your forces. If I want to move the battle cruiser up, I've got two ways of doing this. I can click this arrow, which as you can see moves it up the list each time I click it. Or if I want to move one down, if I want to move the cruiser down, you can see the cruiser is moving down. So that's one way, just by clicking the arrows. The other way is if I click the number, you see how that's changed colour? Now as I move it up the numbers, you'll notice that the battle cruiser is moving with me. Now unfortunately, if I click on the names, it doesn't move with me. It only moves if I stay on the numbers. So now I want to move that to number 1. Okay, so what else do I want to have? Now this green, what that means is it's annoying that the little tooltip is actually over the top of my list, but we'll go through that in a second. If you waggle the mouse, you can stop it coming up long enough. But what this is showing is how many items or how many ships will spawn for my block count. At the bottom of the screen we can see our 20k, and you can see I've actually got most of this block count, so that's going to be so I'm going to put the advantage, actually let's reduce this down just to show what it's like for a bigger battle. So I'm going to put this down to 10k just for the moment. Now as you can see, my green area has reduced. So on the battle cruiser I'm only got the turtle destroyer and the PT turtle. If I increase the block count up a little bit, let's take it up to about 15, you'll notice that in my allowable blocks, because I'm now allowed 12.2k of blocks, I can spawn 4 vehicles in at the very beginning. Yeah, and I'll take it up to the full 20 again, which is the default value, 20,000 blocks. And as you can see, I can, hopefully you can see, I can spawn in quite a few forces. If we put it there, so all the way down six vehicles. So the green, if I was to take out the turtle destroyer and start with this turtle missile cruiser, I can go all the way down to this missile destroyer. Excuse me. So let me just sort out an example team that I think might be quite a bit fun, and also some that I'm gonna have coming in and out to show you how things work. I'm actually going to put lots of the turtles in here, and that one we're going to have down there, and that turtle up as well. What else is fairly small? So I can still get him in. Let's bring this turtle destroyer up. Okay, I'm actually going to reduce the point count here. So I'm going to take it down to 15 just to reduce the number, so I can't get that turtle missile destroyer in. Take it a little bit down further, a little bit further. Yeah, there we go. So now when I start the battle, it will only go down to the turtle destroyer. There we go. I managed to keep it there without it moving. So you can see in the green, I'm going to spawn my battle cruiser, the 2 turtle pursuits, the 2 PT turtles, and the turtle destroyer. So that will be my first spawning group of ships. Now if I destroy the enemy, what will happen is that if I get more points, the next ship may be possible it will start to spawn in, and we'll see that in the game. Or if I want to bring in the next ship, I will need to unspawn some of my ships, and we're going to show how you could change the order of your spawning once in battle. Now I think we've got daylight and it's not, yeah, there we go. Right, so now one other bit, you can change the speed that whilst you're in this mode, so you can just hold up speed here whilst I'm thinking about things. It doesn't really make any difference. Everything else in the world is, I don't think you lose any resources, but everything else is slowed. You can see my resource points are not going up. I've got fixed resources on the left hand side. My metal and everything is fixed. So we're going to go back up to speed, and we will just begin this battle. So if I click the begin battle button, and now we go into the other part of this game. So I'm going to put it down to 0.1 just for the moment, just so that we can see everything going through. Okay, now if I go down to my ship, if I get on the curve, you'll see the screens have changed just a little bit. So we're on the battle cruiser. Sorry if it's the screen's not great for seeing things. So we can see how our ships are quite happily farming at this their first spawn. Now I've noticed that they tend to spawn their better ones first now. Now normally our options at this point are you've got a number of controls you can do. C, still here, gives you all of your computer controls for all of the ships which are in, and we actually got 2 turtle destroyers in. That's oh no, sorry, that's the same one with 2 AIs. I do apologise. We've got the E button, which is slightly different. This is now, the view is like a top-down RTS view. So if I click on one of my ships, you can see I can change various items of the ship. Whichever one I want, I can spawn him in. I can tell him to withdraw. You can see, to bring in this next turtle destroyer, I would need 1,100 blocks to be freed up in the team. I can also just change the number of blocks here. So as you can see, as I'm changing the blocks here, you're actually seeing the blocks change on this end as well. So I'm actually making changes to the block count as the game goes through. I can also change here and decide, actually I don't want another turtle destroyer, I want something with some more missiles. So let's say I want to bring in the missile cruiser next. So if I just move up the missile cruiser, now I can't, if I just move him up one more, he won't magically spawn. If I just show that, he's not going to magically spawn like that. So he can't suddenly spawn. I can only just change the order where he is. So he'll now come in before this next turtle destroyer. But he can't come in because I need 3,500 blocks for him to spawn in. There's a couple of ways I can get those blocks back. Number 1, we destroy the enemy, which gives us more block count. That's one way of getting the blocks up, and we have one of the enemy going to damage. You know, once he goes through, hopefully we'll let him just be destroyed. You'll notice that our block count should go up on this, which is good. So we can also click on any of the ships we want. Now on this screen, you've got mouse movement, hit the edges. You've also got the same as moving your character around. If you hold the shift button down, he will move around quickly. Okay, so now they've brought in their next ship, and you'll notice I only need 2,877 blocks needed. Okay, I really want to bring this turtle missile cruiser in. So what I can now do is, let's say the turtles aren't doing too well here. The pursuit's not needed. So I can withdraw the force. Now if I click this withdraw button, even though he is at full health, he is gone. He isn't destroyed, he's just no longer in this battle, and he will be removed from the battle. Still need 2,000 blocks. Okay, how about if I get rid of that one? Still need 1,200 blocks. How about another turtle? Right, 700. Okay, we'll get rid of the last turtle. 294 blocks needed. I still need 94 blocks. Okay, I'm doing cheat a little. Let's just increase the number of blocks. Come on, come on. That should be him spawning in. Okay, so he's now spawned in. He will now be on here somewhere. Where is he? He's over here. So we managed to get him in. Well, I changed it with the blocks, but let's assume you don't change that. You would have to change, take items out. As we can see, for the next turtle destroyer, we need 1,281 blocks. So I'd either have to... obviously, one bit is, if you'll just decrease your block count, the problem with that is your enemy also get more blocks as well. So it's not just you getting those blocks. Now, so this is the view, the RTS type view. Now, my ships, let's say I can't move them around. I can't tell them. They're still defined by their AI. Unless you have a patrol card. If you notice up the top of the screen, you'll notice there's an extra icon now. If I go back to the missile cruiser, no icon there, icon here. That is because this has a patrol AI card in it. Now, on this vehicle, I can tell him to do a route. Let's just go here, hold the shift button down, and I can tell him to effectively do a route around our target, or any other particular position I would like him to take. So you have the ability to define and have a little bit of micromanagement of where your ships are going to be going to. Now we can see this is the N view, sorry, the E view. If I come out and go back to our battle, so we can see what is happening, and this is the patrol card in here, this blue card inside the battle cruiser. Ooh, a bit of loud cannons there. So he's now going to follow that route I gave him rather than what the AI said. So I've sort of semi-taken manual control of, or at least micromanaging his route. So there's a good reason in the battle to have the patrol card on your ships now. Now this time, instead of going back to the E mode, I'm going to go to the N. Now N is the AI mode. Now you'll notice here I've got some alternatives here for this routing and patrol card. It's a little bit more involved, and you've got multiple routes, and I've also got different amounts of detail. Now you've got to make sure you have selected the relevant vehicle, so the battle cruiser, and the relevant AI that has the patrol card, and patrol selected. Under low detail, all I've got is each item and the height. If your ship has altitude, what altitude it can go to. So if we go here, whoops, here, hold the shift button down, let's just redo this. I can set so he stays at a reasonable distance from our target. There we go. That's low detail. If I now go to middle detail, we now get a slightly different option, which is form a patrol from this node to the final node. So here we click a loop, and there we go. We've now set this to a loop. So we gave ourselves a little bit more detail and managed to loop our patrol. So he'll go in a circle now until we say otherwise. We can set up to 5 routes. So we could flick between different routes if we wanted to. The high detail in this instance doesn't give you any more detail. It was only irrelevant at a lower level. And we've finished this battle already. But hopefully we saw the patrol. If I put it back to combat, you'll notice all the patrol disappeared. If I put it back to patrol, our route still exists. So for the moment, I will just put him back onto patrol. Now, did we take any damage? I'm just going to zoom out so we're in zoom map, and I'm going to do a pull all. Now, we didn't receive any damage here. But one other item that has been increased, and you'll also notice the PT Turtles are back in game without any damage to them. As such, they're still perfectly fine and happy, etc. So they're in a nice state. Now we'll find another battle so I can show you another part and maybe get something that will take a bit of damage. Which one should we put in? Let's put in the Condor Legion. And I'm going to make it so that it's going to get a bit of damage, basically, unfortunately for them. And we can then hopefully see that in operation if I don't give them two. Right, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to stop that there, and I'm going to start the battle early. You can see it's doing a quick little countdown. So prepared. So I've started this battle a little sooner than previous. Now, as you can see, I can't bring any other fleets in. So I only have these fleets. So let's send in some ships which I know potentially aren't going to be that great, and lots of little ships. We'll put all of the Condors at the bottom. There we go. That's put that one there as well. That's going to be not a great force against this, because it's lots of air-to-air ships, none of the Condors. So, and also I've reduced the points. So basically we should get a bit of damage on this here. And what I'll do is when we got some damage, I'll take them out of battle so that we can repair them later. So it's a little bit of a... I'm sort of like going against my natural inclination, which is to bomb the crap out of them, purely to you know, start and show you what's happening. Now we need to make sure that I'm on one of these ships, so I'm just going to put myself on a Condor, although it's not going to make too much of a difference. There we go. At least we're in the right area now. Now, to start the battle, you can't just start the battle here. You have to go into E mode. If I press F for fleets here, nothing works. Fleet button no longer works. You have to go into E, and then we can hit the begin battle mode. So you've got to start the battle from here. So if I click the begin battle, so you can see those ones have now spawned in, and it spawned them in order. So we've got some ships going out to attack whatever is over here. Just take interface off. The naked view. Now, one good thing is I seem to have some nice performance improvement, although we do have a smallish block count. Occasional stutter on the video, but generally quite good. So we just see a little bit of this battle. So is that a stalwart? I think it is. Let's see if the P button still works. Nope, no, let's put it on. Nope, can't get it. Let's get close to him. Stockade. Okay. So, for some reason, what used to work is P, to be able to look at enemy vehicles. And that's no longer valid. Okay, so we're going to have to get close to vehicles now to look at them. Okay, let's see if we've taken a little bit of damage. Hopefully we've taken a little bit of damage here. Oh yes, we've taken a little bit of damage on a few of them. So we've got something to repair. I'm going to take out that Seafalcon. There we go. He'd taken a little bit of damage. We'll get... I want to take a little bit more damage, so I've got some more. Oh, he seems to have decided to go into the water. Well, that's an interesting move. Yeah, they're air-to-air. They're not really... These ships are not designed for air-to-ground. That's why we have the Condors. But you can see the our fleet is staying back. It's not moving. Now, actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that that gets brought in. If we've got something else that's damaged, he's damaged as well. So we can bring that one in. So one of them here is the flagship for our fleet. If I go to this menu here, you might see a little bit more. Now previously, if you double click an item here, it will go and look at them, which is handy. Now previously, as the flagship moved, all the other vehicles moved with it for their spawn point. But in this particular mode now, everything stays where you set it in the arrangement that you set up, which is good. We like that. Well, I like that. So you can set up a nice split up, and they won't suddenly all just start moving when your flagship moves around. They'll stay at that long distance, ready to spawn in at a long distance, rather than now if I spawned one of these in, they'd be right on top of the enemy, which is what you wouldn't want. I want them far away. So that's good in that regard. Now I want to be a bit clever here. We want to bring in a Condor. Need 2,600 blocks. So just to finish this off, so we can finish it off. We've got some more things that are damaged. That flying ray, yes, we'll take you out of damage now. Now before we do that, if I wanted to end the battle, because I'm just like really in a bad way at the moment, there's these view battle end options down on the right hand side. So if I click that, a nice window will come up, which will show you what will happen if I end the battle now. Fleet lost to the enemy during the battle retreat. No fleets are blockaded and will be able to escape in it. Now if I had more fleets in here that were blockaded, I could lose those blockaded fleets because they weren't part of this battle. Forces lost to the enemy due to suppression. Now suppression is an unusual, not unusual, a new factor As you can see, a certain amount of health within the last 15 seconds is lost. So in other words, they've got badly damaged. If you do that, basically you lose that force to the enemy. Now, losing a force isn't necessarily losing a force, which we'll explain in a second. And at the moment, no forces will be destroyed if you leave battle now, which is good. Okay, so we won't lose anything to the enemy totally in this particular instance, which is handy. But so we could theoretically just end this now, and it wouldn't be a problem. You know, we wouldn't lose anything. It will fairly much follow the previous rules. We won't lose anything. But if we were being heavily beaten, we would find we would have certain casualties. Now, casualties means what we get back is that in the fleet, you'll have effectively a blueprint. You'll have a vehicle with 100% damage. Now, it can be repaired, but you've got no blocks to start repairing. It will be almost like spawning something in from new. It would be that badly damaged. So there is a big downside for ending a battle now early. So if either put a small ship in here which has no defensive ability, which I will do next, just to show you what happens. There is a big downside. Now, what we'll do here, just because yeah, we got to see what happens. We'll get the Condor in. So Condors, just for a bit of fun. Let's see how many Condors we can get in. 19. There's 20 blocks. There we go. 2,000 blocks needed. Okay, well, you're no good, and you can be having a bit. And let's take out that Falcon as well. Oh no, I can only get one Condor in. Oh, okay, that's a pity. Let's see how it does against this glaive. Anyway, now one bad side about this particular spawn system, which I have put in, is the ones that we have pulled out of the game. There is no way to bring them back into the game at this time. They're not lost, but they are not respawnable. They've gone far, far away, and it would, in my view anyway, be better if they were put into some sort of reserve list instead of being taken out of the game and never being able to bring them back in again. Now, one side effect of me changing that block count is they've actually been able to bring in more ships themselves, which is possibly not good, and I'm really hoping that our Condor up here, although it's doing it in a somewhat a black and white fashion because of the snowy area. Go on, drop those big missiles. Thank you. That should do a reasonable amount of damage. We haven't seen some good damage recently, especially for the Condors, and it's good to see how the performance is much better with all of the missiles. The Aquanautic fleet, which uses a lot of underwater missiles, is still somewhat laggy and not used as much. I wasn't seeing as big a problem with proximity fuses on the missiles now. That seems to be a lot better, which is handy for my missile heavy troops. I will be able to bring in some more proximity missiles, which I do like the use of, especially in torpedoes and some of my ships. Oh, we seem to have another one's been a bit badly damaged, so we'll take the Sea Falcon. Yeah, you're out. You're out. So can we get you the other ones in? Okay, now we're gonna have to go like that. You're 80%, so it's gonna be. Can we get this other Condor in? We've got two Condors in. If they don't manage this, it's good. I mean, normally I wouldn't go this mad, and obviously it shows you do have to think about what you want to bring in. You can't be too just. Oh yeah, we'll just sort it all out later. Now, they've got 3 ships in now, because the other problem with retreating ships is my block count has gone down considerably, because effectively in this battle I have less blocks, so they have now a 14k advantage. It's swung the opposite direction. It's almost counting the blocks. So we've got, if you look at the top here below on the top left hand side, you'll notice that it says this fleet has 8,733 of the 28,000 blocks. So which means we get 6,000 blocks. So yes, retreating ships early has a big effect on your whole battle. It affects the block count. It also almost counts them as being destroyed. So you've got to really you want to get it right at the very beginning. And it's a good possibility I might lose this particular battle because of the way it's going to work. Because I've given the block count to them. Now, one of their ships, let's see, we've got, this is another side. Okay, that's good. We're seeing another part is, we are now being affected by the same rules that affects the AI, in that our ship there was sinking, had damage and was sinking, which means it was getting affected by the same rules that the computer player gets affected by. Now I've got to see how that's going to be working for things like submarines, which go underwater, but that could be problematic. So it is possible that some of your ships will spawn out automatically if they take too much damage. Unfortunately, I can't leave something in play now to get lots of damage, unfortunately. But it's an interesting concept. But now you have to, your ships will also get pulled. I haven't seen that actually work. I haven't seen whether it deconstructs them yet to a destroyed state or whether it just retreats them. But what you could do, if that case is coming in, if you want to save a few blocks, you could just retreat him. So actually in this case what we'll do is we'll just retreat him. So that one, I'm hoping it's that one. I haven't just pulled the wrong one. I may have just pulled the wrong one. So now we can only have one Condor in play at the time, which is annoying. So fine. Okay, what we'll do is we'll pull this one out. So we've got one Condor left. So we've got one Condor left, who's going to have to either win this battle, which is rather unlikely, or we're going to basically have to end the battle. So let's assume this battle has gone badly for us. We've got a lot of damaged ships, we've had to retreat them, they've been destroyed, etc. So that will be the situation. So we'll just get the Condor, let it have its final moments of glory, coming in for its bombing run, whilst all of the Onyx Watch unlaunches all their cannons on it. Luckily this one seems to be isn't got any cannons left, so they have done a fair job on that one, and he's going for it. He is targeting that particular ship. So this one, hopefully they'll take out one, but I think he's going to get mauled a little bit by this here, the Rampart, who has some upward facing cannons on the side, which is going to be somewhat annoying. Effective for him, annoying for me. Oh no, we went for the glaive. The Condor went for the glaive, which is mostly good because he's got the lamb system. But see, we're getting reasonable game speed here. It's not too bad at all, which is a great benefit. Our big missiles, where did I? Oh, some of them went for this one. Just to give him a bit of pain from some big old chopsticks coming down. And these chopsticks, which ones are they going for? The Rampart or the glaive? Oh no, they like the flares of the glaive. Really made it sort of like yum num num num. You look deliciously like candy. Unfortunately, he did take some of them out. Did our ship get totally wasted? Just about. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at what is our battle end options, and okay, we're not going to lose anything here, so we could retreat. So we'll do that. Battle finished. Now, if we take everything out of play, what you saw there, you can see all of the hearts going around here to the various vehicles, and that's all of the healing that's happening. Let me just, excuse me here a second, I'm just trying to make sure I get into the right places. Okay, let's not get too zoomed in. There we go. So now if I click on an item and say start repairs on selected craft, you can see everybody sending some healing to that craft. And you can see all the lovely hearts being moved over there. Isn't it pretty? Nice and pretty. If we select another one, so we can now just, let's go into map mode and zoom out a little, so we can select another one and say heal him, and heal them, and heal them, and heal them. So we're healing them. Now, interestingly, we're not actually blockaded at this time, which is a little strange. So we can heal our ships up again before we go into battle. That might be a little buggy. I think theoretically we should be blockaded, but because we started blockaded, I don't know, it's not given us that particular item. But the main bit I wanted to show you is out of game. Okay, we're not blockaded because we're far enough away. This one won't blockade us until he reaches the edge of this ring. So by initiating early, I've given ourselves the chance to run away. Our forces can heroically run away and repair. So being on top of your game and keeping an eye on things is of great advantage. So you can see we have out of you had to repair your ships now. You haven't got to spawn them all in, which is very good. Yeah, very nice, very nice. Okay, anything else that I was going to specifically show? No, so that's the majority of the spawning part. The only bit I didn't show was destroyed blueprints, which basically is the same as a normal blueprint. It will be part of the fleet, except its damage it will be at 0 here, rather than being at a certain amount of damage. So that is how that will work. Some bits personally which I think would be handy is being able to save the default spawn order. I don't know how that works. Now, it could be you set your fleet composition, so the one at the front will be the first one to be spawned in. So what you would have to do is set your fleet positions, but that's not always the way you want something to spawn in, just because it's at the front. Some ships you might want to spawn in at the beginning, but it's a long range ship that you want at the back of your fleet, and you also want possibly a short range ship which is at the front of your fleet. So range is, in my view, not a determining factor, or shouldn't be the determining factor for spawn order. It would only make sense if every ship was identical, which is not going to be the case. Certainly not my case. Also, let's say down in our turtle fleet here, I know that the battle cruiser will always want to be at the top. I'm always going to want the battle cruiser at the top as my first spawning ship. The way the system works at the moment with the retreating, I will say, is that you want your best ship in at the beginning with this particular system, because you can't easily change your fleet composition mid-battle, depending on the block count, etc. like that. You will need to make sure you've covered all your bases. You'll want to see what the enemy fleet is and work out before you start the fleet, start the battle, do I want anti-air, anti-submarine? What type of makeup do you want? Now, one problem with that particular scenario is you do not know what order the AI will bring their ships in. So you can't, let's say you were going up against actually the Dark Water the Dark Water Guard are most probably a better example, because they have a mixture of aerial airships, sea vehicles, and proper planes. You could have dusters. Let's think of something. Let's say you had some Atlas refits, some dusters, and some a plunderer. Now, you don't know what order it could bring in the Atlases first, in which case you need something that takes out big aerial vehicles. It could bring in the dusters first, in which case you need something which takes out very fast vehicles. Heaven forbid it brings in a squirrel, but we'll leave that one. Or it could bring in the plunderer, which means you need your biggest hitting sea vehicle. So you don't know. So you've got to be covering all of your bases on that initial spawning, and then you can manipulate. As you saw, I was able to change the order of my next ship to bring it in, and then I could basically, it's almost like playing some of the card games where you have to sacrifice a card to bring in the next ship. The problem is, this is not a ready card game. This is a naval battle. Ships just don't sort of disappear. We can retreat a ship, fine, but they should then go into a reserve pot, which you can bring back in again later. In my view, they shouldn't just disappear and be discarded. But maybe that's the way it's going. You can think of this as one of the popular card game type of ones, where you have your cards which are on the table, and you now have to choose which one you want to bring in next as one of those cards gets destroyed. So you've got to think about in advance. You can see what is the enemy has initially put out from their deck, but you cannot see what is next in their hand ready to bring in, because you don't know that situation. Good and bad bits. I like it in some ways. It's bad in another way. My bad view, and this is what I think would be the answer to it, is have all your cards on the table at the beginning. Well, you're going to say you can't do that. Well, you can if you just build one very big ship that does everything. So if you just have one, like my Atlantis as an example, that's got big guns, small guns, AA guns, missile guns, everything in one big ship, then you could spawn that ship in and have that be the only ship you need, because it's got everything in it. I don't need any more ships. I just bring in the Atlantis. Now here, actually, I have split the Atlantis into all of the separate pods, but if I used the spawners, I could make it all one ship. Or I could just make one very big battleship and just say, right, we'll just bring in the battleship, and it's got a bit of everything, and we don't have to think about it. No, it's gameplay. It is part of the game, and you would need to get into that situation. But theoretically, later on, that may be the best option, unless there is a better way to be able to move forces in and out of this system. Okay, I'm going a little bit too far with this. I'm going into what I feel is problems with this system, rather than playing with the system as it stands at the moment. I think that it is very good. I like this battle system. I quite like the idea of it's similar to what we had previously. The only difference at this moment is you can define the spawn beforehand rather than having to click. But previously all I had to do was bring in the first one, then the second one, and click on the ones I wanted. Now I just have to make a list up beforehand. Differences is there, but not great. The biggest difference is now when if I want to unspawn something, it is now gone. It is not a matter of, well, I can't now bring it back in again for a couple of minutes. Personally, I prefer the other system. I like the planning the battle beforehand. Another area I like is this RTS style top-down view. I think that's great. I like the idea of the patrol cards, so there's now a good reason for me to start going through various ships and putting patrol cards in. Now also, this also accounts for, I'd said about that I couldn't make a ship which circles at a distance the enemy. Now I can with the patrol card. I haven't got to worry about mucking around with the AI. I have to micromanage, but I can go into the vehicle and set it as a patrol a distance and micromanage that particular vehicle. Admittedly, I'd have to micromanage it, which I might not want to do. Now this force has now been blockaded, which means it will automatically start the battle in 100 or so seconds. We should see that message pop up in a little while. I'm guessing. It's not come up yet. Come on. But the force is blockaded, so I would expect the battle to be forced upon me. Hasn't done it yet. Nope, hasn't come up. Okay, well, maybe that's a thing. But we are blockaded, which means it would be more difficult for us now to retreat from this without damage. So we'll just give that a go. Sorry, but I was talking about bringing items in. So, as I say, that's something to be debated. And this is not the final. This is 1.72. I'm sure there's going to be some changes before this is made live. But let's see how it works and goes in the game. It's going to be interesting to see, certainly. Right, let's go into this battle. So it's not giving me the battle option at this moment. If I click here, there we go. We've gone into battle mode. Right, we're going to start with... We'll put a Condor in there at the beginning this time. There we go, we've got a Condor in there at the beginning. So we'll get a Condor and a few other ships in there. We'll put a second one about there, just because. So now we'll launch that fleet in. So it's a same fleet, similar fleet to what we had now, but I want to see what new options we have. So if I do begin battle, it's now our ships are quite happily going out and doing the business. Okay, now if we look at the view battle end options, right, all constructs will be destroyed and the blueprints will remain for rebuilding. So if we did a retreat, we are gonna basically lose all of our ships and they'll be replaced with blueprints. So expected casualties if I ended the battle now would be all of these ships that are on the bottom. So basically at this moment that's all our ships. Because we started this whilst blockaded, it's a fight to the death effectively. We will lose all of our ships if we retreat and or end the battle now. So that's the slightly newer option as such on this system. So it's definitely a reason why you would not want to end early if you can help it, to be frankly honest. It's a last resort. It's also a reason why you can't use your small ship to blockade forever. Which means tactically, this is something I was going to get into, which I'm just going to end this battle here, just to see how this all works. let's see if I can save it. Let's save him. You can be. Let's go into here. Bear with me a second. I'm just gonna save you and you, which brings those ones in. But if I now end the battle, we can see that there's a whole load are gonna be lost. But so let's go for it. End the battle. So you can see how they're red. If we go back to our map now, we can see that the icons are somewhat different. Oops, it got blockaded still. Okay, if we highlight one of them. Oh, that's an interesting one. It got me out of the blockade. I can repair him, but he's having to start. And I need to click on him and say repair. Unfortunately, on these vehicles, there is no, because we have nothing which is able to repair them. They're gonna need a crap load of repairing. We would need at least one ship to be there to start the repair system. So if let's see if this will work. We'll move them over to our friendly aquanautic fleet here. See if they will start doing some of the repairs for us. And there you go. So our aquanautic fleet is now repairing them. Now they managed to get out of the blockade here. But so you can see you haven't. We lost all of the blocks. This is going to would cost us a lot of metal, because basically everything has to be built from scratch. So retreating from a battle or ending the battle now has some severe consequences. The bit this is a very long video now, which is not what I intended. The good bit about this particular system, let me just come off of this, means strategically, you've got to worry about all of these little blocks that I left here, which were effectively defenseless items. I've now got to worry about these guys, because if the enemy comes in with a fleet, they can basically destroy the resource zone and this here before I could get there with a fleet of my own. So you need to think about your front lines with an enemy force. You can't just say, oh well, it'll just get blockaded until I come along and sort it out later. It's not quite as simple as that. Anyway, as I say, this video's gone on a little longer than it needed to. I must cut a bit of it out once I've gone through it in the editor. Maybe cut a little out. So next video will be the campaign, and I'm not going to use this particular save. I will be using a different one where I haven't sacrificed my Condor Legion and some of the other ones. I'll use one which is a little bit further on. This one was just used to show you the new combat system. So hopefully you will enjoy this combat system, and we'll see what it's like when we are using the Atlantis, which is going to be one big load on these particular enemy, and we will see how that works for us. It's just about ready to be brought in, I believe, and we might also bring in the new 8-barreled Gustav, and we'll put that possibly into our carrier fleet and add it to that as a big ship in there just for giggles. We'll have a look on that. We might be able to wangle that one into the campaign. So until next time, or until the next video, keep playing, keep an eye on the forums, go on the forums, have a read up on all these changes, but in general, have fun.